Most traders don't fully understand Darwinex Zero. They complain about the profit split, which is 15%. They complain about the risk engine, and they complain about the allocations being too low at the start. So I want to clear up those misunderstandings. I want to explain some things, and I want to do a deep comparison between a prop firm, I'll be using FTMO, and Darwinex Zero to see exactly how much opportunity to make profit, to get capital you have with both of these options. Which option is better, which one is worse, what are the pros, what are the cons. So hopefully by the end of this video I will answer most of the questions that I saw online and that you guys have about Darwinex Zero, so that you can consider what is the best option for you to get capital. We know that capital is one of the most, if not the number one reason why retail traders have a really tough time succeeding as traders. If you only have 5K or 10K in your personal account, that is definitely not enough to make significant profits, definitely not enough to live off of your profits. So let's start with the breakdown. Let's get on to the PC. So I have written this document comparing the two companies, and first we need to determine how much real capital do you actually have. I mean, with FTMO, you don't have, if you buy the 10K account, you don't have the full 10K at your disposal. You get 80% of your profits. That means you have 8K of real capital at your disposal. Meaning, if you make 5%, so 0.05 times 8,000, you get 400 euros in your bank account, okay? That's what I mean by real capital. Now for Darwinex Zero, if we take a look at their website where you can calculate your rating, and we put in the numbers that you would probably have if you passed phase 1 and passed phase 2 of FTMO. So we know FTMO phase 1 is 10%, phase 2 is 5%. That is 15% cumulative. So let's say you returned for the last month 4%, and in the prior 5 months you returned 11%. These are the numbers we're going to use for the calculation. And let's say your max drawdown was minus 6%. So these sort of statistics in 6 trading months would both pass you phase 1 and phase 2 at FTMO, and you would also get a 50k euro allocation with Darwinex. Now this is important because we're trying to determine how much real capital do we have. Well, with a 50k account you have 7.5k of real capital at your disposal because you get a 15% profit split. That means 0.15 times 50k. That is 7.5k. I hope this is clear for you guys, but for our comparison, we need to have similar account sizes of that real capital that you actually have after the profit split happens. That is very important. So a 10k account on FTMO would be similar to getting 50k allocation on Darwinex Zero. Time to funding, we're gonna put 6 months. I think that is kind of the average. Some people may finish more quickly, some people may take 1 year to pass phase 1, pass phase 2, but I would say 6 months is the average. Now let's compare the price. So the price for FTMO is 89 euros one-time fee, and that is refunded on your first payout. The price for Darwinex Zero is right here. So I'm using the Forex and CFDs option, and this is the pricing with my discount. So if you use my link in the description of this video, my discount code will automatically be applied. And for the first month, you're paying 30.4 euros, and then later you're paying 38 euros per month. This means that our calculation is a one-time fee of 30.4 euros and 38 times 5, because we said our time to funding, our time to get the allocation is gonna be 6 months. That is a total of 220.4 euros. So in terms of the pricing, FTMO is a definite winner because you get refunded on your first payout. But what we're gonna talk about a bit later is that with Darwinex Zero, you don't have a max drawdown. But with FTMO, you may fail your first attempt, you may fail your second attempt, so you may lose a couple of challenge fees until you eventually get funded. So now I want to list all of the pros and all of the cons. So for FTMO, the pros are cheaper price and bigger accounts are easily available, meaning you can get more funding faster than Darwinex Zero. It is also important to note that with Darwinex Zero, when you get an allocation, it lasts for 3 months, but every single month you're eligible to get another allocation. So you can keep on stacking allocations one on top of each other. But even with that, I would say in the short term, FTMO is more efficient because you can just buy a 100K or a 200K account, pass phase 1, pass phase 2, and have a lot of capital under management in just a couple of months. Now, to list the cons for FTMO, hitting the 10% drawdown limit. Again, Darwinex Zero, there is no drawdown limit, no daily drawdown and no max drawdown limit. So with FTMO, you may buy your first, second, third attempt, you may fail those, and then you pass. So you could spend a lot of money on failed challenge fees, I know I have, before you finally get the funded account. So I wrote down needing to purchase multiple accounts if the drawdown is breached before passing phase 1 and phase 2. And prop firms are very risky in general. Now, this is the biggest con that I would personally mention. The problem is prop firms want you to fail. So the winners get paid out from the failed challenge fees. When you make money on the funded account, it goes straight out of the pockets of the prop firm. So prop firms want you to fail. Whereas Darwinex and Darwinex Zero, they are not betting against you. They are actually taking your trades and they want you to win, because when you make money, they make money as well. So the business model with Darwinex Zero is a lot cleaner and the conflict of interest is not really present. We know a lot of prop firms like to be very shady, very sketchy. They like to manipulate the spreads, manipulate the commissions. So prop firms make it very hard to reach a payout. So now for Darwinex Zero, the pros: no max drawdown, no daily drawdown, you have access to investors, and it is a safer option. So Darwinex Zero is much more of a long-term game. Yes, you're hunting for those allocations, but I would say the end goal is the access to outside investors. I'm gonna show you the Hall of Fame a bit later so that you can see what I'm talking about when I mention investors. And again, it's a safer option. Darwinex actually wants you to make money. Now, there are cons, of course. There's always gonna be pros and cons. So the cons, it's hard to get more allocations as your trading performance needs to be at an elite level to get to massive allocations. Meaning, if you wanna get 300 or 400,000 euros under allocation, your performance needs to be in the top 1%. So you need to be a really successful trader for quite a long time. But again, the allocations are not the whole story. They're one part of the funding, and the second part is investors. So if you're such a good trader to get these massive allocations, you're probably gonna get some investors as well who will like your performance. So your potential to attract capital is bigger than with FTMO, and the price is more expensive. Again, here we compared a similar account size of real capital, so 7.5K here and 8K right there. And you saw the price 89 euros here and 220.4 euros for Darwinex Zero for 6 months as an average time to funding. So one thing I noticed that a lot of traders comment on and complain about is the risk engine. They say that they place, let's say, a 2% risk per trade, but then the risk engine makes their trade much smaller on the actual Darwin account. Well, the risk engine is there to protect the investors and to distinguish between good risk management and traders that are gamblers that are slapping on huge lots and huge amount of risk. So I would actually say it's not a con, but it is a built-in safety measure to distinguish between good risk management and bad risk management. For example, my current risk ratio is around 1.23. So that means when I take a 1% risk per trade on the Signal account, it then turns it into a 1.23% trade on the actual Darwin account. So for me, it works in my favor. And yeah, my conclusion for the risk engine, it's not a con, it's actually a good thing. And if you do proper risk management, if you're not gambling or slapping on huge amounts of lots, you will be okay, you will still make good profits. So what is the conclusion? Well, FTMO is more short-term. Darwinex Zero is long-term. FTMO is less safe, but you get access to bigger capital sooner. And Darwinex Zero is safer, but it takes a long time to build a steady track record and then access investor capital. So let's take a quick look at my account on Darwinex Zero. Currently my return is 9.66, max DD is minus 11.31, and last 6 months return is 2.78. So I'm battling it out for an allocation. I've had quite a long drawdown and now I'm starting to climb out of it. It's going pretty slow, but that is trading. With the rating calculator, we can see that for this month, I need to make, I think, around 2.6% to get an allocation, maybe 2.75. Yeah, so you can see when my rating crosses 75, I get a 30K allocation, which is the minimum allocation. So July is over in just a few days. I don't think I'll be able to do this in July, but maybe in August. I have a nice silver trade that is running, so we will see what will happen with the silver trade. Otherwise, grinding it out for this year, I'm in the green, and my short-term goal is, yes, to get an allocation, but my long-term goal is to build a nice steady track record. I'm not talking about a track record of a few months or 1 year. I'm talking about like a 3 to 4 year track record with consistent profitable years that will hopefully attract investors into my Darwinex. And now for my most favorite part, which is the Hall of Fame. So here you can see the total performance fees paid are around 7.2 million euros, and you can see the top traders. So I would say the top 10 traders made around 100K or more. Here we have THA, the most successful trader on Darwinex. He made around 964,000 euros so far. But you can see this list is quite long. I think you have top 100 people here. So the 100th place made around 11.5K of euros of profits. So yeah, it goes lower and lower and lower. I'm not gonna go through the whole list, but let's take a look at the top guys. So if you go to Darwinia and if we search up for THA, I've been closely following him. He's an awesome trader and always very interested to see what he is trading. Underlying strategy, this is what it's about, you know? So this is the main difference between a prop firm and Darwinex Zero. Prop firm, short term, you can attract a lot of capital, that is correct, and you get a better performance fee. I'm not gonna lie, 80% is better than 15%, but Darwinex Zero is a long-term game and the end goal is to attract investors. So the top guy on Darwinex has a track record from 2015. That is 10 years of performance. So he's a little bit negative for the year, but it's been quite a tough year with Trump in office. Pretty much every single year before that was in the green. Again, he had some awesome years and then he had some very small percentage years, like here in 2020, only 3.1%. That's how it goes. That is trading. But when an investor sees a track record of 10 years with a max drawdown of only minus 15%, which is, I would say, very small, and this sort of an equity curve, they are pretty happy to invest real money into this trader. And I think THA currently has around 25 million euros under management. So what is my advice? What should you do? Is Darwinex Zero a waste of money? Well, my advice is to do both FTMO and Darwinex Zero at the same time. They serve a different purpose. FTMO, prop firms, they are there for the short term to build some capital, get some payouts, and then put that money into your personal broker. Again, there's a massive conflict of interest. They don't want you to make money because they have to pay you from their pockets. So in the background, you can have Darwinex Zero running. You can keep building a track record and it will pay off in the long term. That is if you have a good trading edge, of course. You will first get access to allocations and later down the line, you'll get access to investors. So if you want to check out Darwinex Zero and you want to help out the channel, there is a link in the description of this video with a discount code as well. One cool thing that I want to mention, if you want to avoid paying the monthly fee, you can just deposit 1,000 euros into the Darwinex broker and you will get full access to Darwinex allocations and investors straight away. Of course, you can close that account at any time that you want. You can withdraw that money. If you have an extra 1,000 euros, I would actually recommend that you skip the whole paying of the monthly fees and just deposit that money into the Darwinex broker so you can get full access to the Darwinex features for basically free. So that's about it for this video. At first, the 15% profit split seems low, but when you get into it, when you look at the calculator, when you input the actual percentage that you need to make to pass phase 1 and phase 2 with FTMO, you can see that you can attract some pretty decent capital through Darwinex Zero as well. That's about it for the video. I wish you guys a great rest of the week and see you in the next one.